This illustration deals with a Class 2 Division 1 location, and it contains the general requirements in line with 502.10B1, Item 6. Now notice 501 now was gas and vapor. Now we're in dust, 502. And the purpose of the change was to accept a new subdivision. The subdivision has been added to address the requirements of installing a TC-ER-HL cable in an industrial type establishments with restricted public access for Class 2 Division 1 locations. Now notice when you deal with dust, you're concerned with layers. So let's review the layers as you see to the left, and you see dust is collecting there. And basically, if the dust is over an eighth of an inch thick as outlined there, you're in an explosive range. But notice now we're not a gas or vapor, so we're not using NFPA 497. We're referencing NFPA 499.6.3.2. And right in that area also, you're kind of looking at dust clouds. And as a rule, this is just a basic rule of thumb, so to speak, but if you can kind of see your thumb in a 3 to 4 foot range and with certain type dust that's listed in your table, and NFPA 499 for the type of dust, sugar, whatever it may be present, then you're not in an explosive range for that type of dust that may be listed there. But notice that we are, the arrow pointing to the equipment there in the center. Notice the cable is terminated with listed fittings that seals the outer jacket and the core in 502.10B as in boy 1, item number 6. And then notice if we drop down right below the equipment to the left of the illustration, we are using a TC-ER-HL cable rated at 600 volts or less, as talked about in 502.D, B as in boy, 1, item number 6. Now, let's review our notes. And this note 1 is really applicable where you're Class 1 Division 1 or where you deal with gas and vapor, or if you're in dust. But you're in the Division 1 in either case where it's Class 1 or 2. Note 1 applies, and it says qualified personnel serve the installation as outlined in your 502.10B1, item number 6. Number 2, down below, right above your main caption there, it says, Note 2, cable shall not be exposed to physical damage, just like in Class 1 Division 1. But we're in 502.10B as in boy 1, item number 6. And then again, see, we want to be sure and look at 336.10, item 7, and the exception to item number 7. And then finally, we review note 3. And it says for cable tray installations, be sure that we go over and review Article 392 dealing with this cable, type cable, along with your cable tray, because a cable tray is not a conduit system, it's not an auxiliary gutter or wireway, as defined in 392.2. And again, remember, nipples, you are a raceway, is defined in Note 4 to Table 1 to Chapter 9. A sleeve, to start with, is defined in 300.10, and I believe it's exception 2, but it's right in that area. And always classify what you're dealing with. If you looking at an auxiliary gutter or wireway, then go review 366.23A, review 366.12 item 2, and then you will define how you classify a wireway or auxiliary gutter. So again, make sure you know what kind of system you're dealing with wiring method wise, and then you know where to go to classify it. Then you know how to size the wiring method so it will accommodate your conductors. Are you waiting on me? This illustration deals with wiring methods, NEC 502.10B1. And the purpose of change was to outline the requirements for installing listed type P cable with a braided armor with an overall jacket and a single layer and a cable tray system. Now, if you notice, the first called out information to the bottom right hand side of that cable tray, it talks about type P cable with metal armor, 502.10B as in boy 1, item number 7. And secondly, right above that call out, we have the arrow pointed toward the cable tray and containing the conductors. And notice the cable tray consists type P listed rated cables in a single layer per 502.10B as in boy 1, item number 7. But notice now we are required to put them in a single layer, not necessarily stack them. And then, of course, you know, we have the center cable, and then notice that it's a single layer type P cable when you review the call out. And then right below it, we have a ventilated trough type cable tray that is talked about in 392.22A1 as in Apple. And then, of course, you know, the cable tray itself, it could be a ladder or ventilated type, as you see in the top call out with the arrow pointing toward the cable tray. The cable tray, remember now, is defined in 392.2, and raceways are defined in 300.17, and the informational note lists those type of wiring methods. Now, let's review the Note 1, and Note 1 states type listed P cable shall be terminated with listed fittings as outlined in 502.10b as in boy, 1, item number 7. Note 2 states, be sure now, and they also see the UL standard 1309 and 2225 that is also outlined in 502.10b as in boy, item 7 to B1, and the informational notes 1 and 2, which refer you to these standards for additional information when you're using type P cable, and you want a little bit more pro and con about that cable than you feel like is listed in the Article 336 or this section for dust-related areas.